Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission is to take complex source material and distill it into genuine, applicable insight for you. Today, we're jumping into a really profound philosophical exploration. Our sources are a collection of essays from Feng of Lifechanyuan, and our goal is to pull out the fundamental laws for personal excellence and spiritual evolution.
It's a fascinating body of work. I mean, the framework itself is just so unique. The author doesn't just talk about abstract ideas. They connect the most mundane, everyday things.
Like what?
Things like itch and knife or the structure of graphite, even a game of mahjong. And they show how these things directly reflect this universal truth, the Tao.
That juxtaposition is what I love, the kitchen knife and the cosmos. Okay, let's get right into that. The source of this universal truth. The essays say the greatest creator has never spoken to us in, a human language, but is in constant dialogue with us. So what's the communication then?
Well, the communication is everything. Everything we perceive. The language of the greatest creator is nature itself. The sun, the moon, the stars, how a river flows.
The wind, the rain.
Exactly. Even the smallest things. The chirping of insects, the sound of the sea. In this framework, all of that sensory input is intentional divine communication.
That's a huge idea.
Yeah.
That every single moment is a message, if we just knew how to read it. But if it's constant, why are most of us so oblivious?
Because decoding it requires two things, two faculties working together, spiritual perception and wisdom.
Okay.
Spiritual perception is the sensing part, the intuition. It lets you feel the presence of the creator. You register the what.
And if that's the what, then wisdom must be the why.
That's it exactly. Wisdom is the logic, the analysis, the ability to understand the mechanism behind what you're perceiving. And the sources point out a common deficiency here. If you have perception without wisdom, you feel something spiritual, but you don't have the structure to understand it or act on it.
And the reverse would be, you can analyze the world perfectly, but you miss the source, the presence behind it all.
Right. And this leads to a pretty sharp critique. It suggests religious figures often have that perception, but maybe lack the rigorous wisdom, while scientists have incredible wisdom through logic and experiment, but often lack that spiritual perception.
So they each only have half of the key.
Exactly. And most people, the sources argue, lack both. And they're just living blindly. You need the feeling heart and the rational mind to unlock the dialogue.
Okay, so moving from that abstract idea to something more concrete, the sources immediately talk about finding your best life track. It's an analogy, right? About potential.
It's a very grounding analogy. The argument is that huge potential can look like mediocrity just because it hasn't found its proper context, its runway.
An amazing aircraft is just a pile of muddle if it's stuck in a field.
Precisely. It needs a runway to take off. The talent isn't the problem. The alignment is.
And we have historical examples here. Eisenhower and Patton needed the track of war.
Jet Li and Andy Lau, the track of movies, business leaders, the commercial track. The environment is what lets the talent shine.
And the advice here is very direct.
Very. First, find the track that suits you. But second, and this is more proactive, if you can't find it, you have to build your own. If you want real fulfillment, you need a track with infinite prospect, something for a lifetime.
Let's use that kitchen knife example again. How does that fit in?
Well, think about it. A chef's knife, a bread knife, they all start as steel. But their shape, their edge, that defines their track. If you use a delicate slicing knife to chop bone, the wrong track.
It's going to fail. It'll seem useless.
Right. Its excellence only comes out when it's aligned with its purpose. For you, the listener, it means you have to define your purpose as clearly as a knife maker defines the blade's function.
That makes the connection really clear.
Yeah.
But once you're on the track, what's the hierarchy? What's the purpose? The sources lay out 4 core priorities.
And this is so important because the author insists that we were made to be mortal humans first. Trying to skip that stage, to just jump to being a Buddha or a god, that's against the creator's will. You have to master the human experience.
Okay, so what are those top priorities for the human experience?
Number 1, revere the greatest creator, which really means revering nature and life itself. Number 2, pursue the beauty of the soul, not power, not money, not fame.
And 3 and 4.
3 is to explore the mysteries of the universe and the meaning of life. And 4 is to elevate the non-material structure of life, your spiritual blueprint.
But before all that, we have to master the path of man. How is that defined?
The starting point is knowing your coordinate. You are a mortal human. That dictates everything. You have to do human things, caring for family, for the lonely, speak human words, respectful, motivating, follow the human way, be committed to your duties, keep studying.
And engage in human business, farming, commerce, whatever it is.
Yes. The warning is very explicit. Don't go around trying to do ghostly things or speak God's words if you haven't even figured out how to be a good, decent human being. Get the roots right first.
Let's dig into that non-material structure of life. This brings us to that amazing analogy of graphite and diamond.
This is where physics becomes philosophy. Graphite and diamond are both just carbon, same material.
Exactly the same stuff.
But graphite is soft, it's messy, Mohs hardness of 1. Diamond is, well, it's diamond. Unified, invincible, Mohs hardness of 10. The only difference is the internal structural permutation, how the atoms are arranged.
So, same ingredients, but a radical change in organization leads to a totally different reality.
Yeah.
If we're the graphite sort of scattered and inefficient, and celestial beings are the diamonds, what shapes our internal structure?
Consciousness. It's all dictated by consciousness. When our consciousness is disordered based on chaos, anger, fear, we are like graphite, scattered, weak. When it's ordered by higher frequency states, we start to unify that structure. It's the difference between a pile of bricks and a cathedral.
So how does a person right now start ordering that structure? What's the very first step toward that diamond-like state?
Gratitude. The sources call it the first element of life's sublimation. A lack of gratitude is what causes a deformed life structure.
To make sense, complaining and resentment that scatter your energy, gratitude unifies it.
It does, and the sources give a really long list of what to be thankful for. It's not just the obvious things.
Right, it goes beyond family and friends.
Way beyond. Thank the greatest creator for your senses, for the ability to love. Thank the great teachers, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, for their wisdom. And yes, thank your parents, your children, your friends, but also thank strangers. The argument is that real happiness isn't some reward you get. It belongs to people who are appreciative.
So beyond gratitude, there's purification. And the sources link purity directly to stability.
Yes, the principle is the purer, the more stable. Think about supercooling. A liquid, if it's perfectly pure, can stay liquid way below its freezing point. Impurities are what start the chaos, the crystallization.
So in life, purity attracts stability and love. The sources mention wild animals being gentle around babies because of their purity.
Exactly. And to enter a higher state, or heaven, you have to return to the state of infancy, not by gaining more knowledge, but by purifying that internal life structure.
And this whole process leads to what's called the 0-degree critical point.
Yes, 0 degrees Celsius. It's the pivot. Below it, you have ice solid, death, stagnation. Above it, water liquid, life, flow.
So in self-cultivation, you have to push past a certain threshold to see any real change.
Right. You can heat water from 10 degrees to 99, but you don't get steam until you hit 100. All that effort below the critical point doesn't create the transformation.
So you could be trying for decades, but if you don't hit that 0 point, that escape velocity, it's all nullified.
Precisely. And the greatest creator is seen as that 0 degree point, the pivot itself, which is why aligning with it is so critical. It actually shifts the pivot for you.
Let's shift to the nature of truth, or Tao. It's defined as the consciousness of the greatest creator, and it has 8 attributes. Which ones really stand out?
I'd focus on universality and naturalness.
Okay.
Universality means Tao is in everything. All visible objects are just transformations of Tao. This ties right back to the beginning. The sun, moon, stars are its language because they are its consciousness.
And naturalness.
Naturalness just means that the truth is logical, it's spontaneous, it's not forced or artificial, it's just the way things are. If you try to force life in a way that violates that, you'll eventually fail.
And this leads to a really interesting and kind of counterintuitive idea about human values. The contradiction of doors.
This is one of the trickiest parts. We tend to think all virtues just add up, you can have them all at once, but the author presents them, Tao, virtue, law, benevolence, and so on, as exclusive doors. And the insight is, you can only really choose one as your main track.
Wait, so if I choose Tao, virtue is void. If I choose wisdom, rituals diminish. That sounds wrong. Why can't I be both wise and virtuous?
It's not about exclusion, it's about focus. It's about priority. If your entire focus is on the vastness of the Tao, then the specific human-made rules of virtue become kind of secondary. If you choose rigorous wisdom as your path, then prescribed rituals naturally become less important. You can't put all your energy in 2 places at once.
But there's a balancing act here. The consequence is automatic.
Oh, absolutely. The system corrects itself. Close one door and another one opens. The example given is, if you stop being a corrupt official, you close the door on lawlessness, You automatically open the door to being an upright person. The sacrifice you make becomes the fuel.
Speaking of these kinds of choices, the sources warn us about evil kindness and benevolent evil.
Yes, and these are so insidious because they're disguised. Evil kindness is the trap that looks like sincere care. It's when you're doing really well, and a friend, maybe out of jealousy, gives you cautious advice.
Like the CEO being told, be careful, that person's too ambitious.
Exactly. It's cloaked in sincerity, but the outcome is evil. It sets up obstacles, it ruins bright prospects. It's the soft language of sabotage.
And benevolent evil is the opposite. A harsh act with a positive result.
The perfect example is the mother bird pushing the fledgling out of the nest. It looks cruel, right?
Terrifying.
But that one evil act leads to freedom, to flight, to a much bigger life. This kind of tough love is sometimes necessary for people who are lazy or stuck. Sometimes you need that forceful push to find your real track.
We're coming to a close. And the urgency in these sources is, you can really feel it. They call it the last flight.
Yeah, the author is very insistent that time is not a luxury. Life's final existential flight is coming. And if you miss it, you might be waiting for centuries or millennia. The main thing is to resolve the issue of life and death. If you don't solve that, everything else, money, fame, it's all futile.
But we often feel powerless against those huge questions. The sources talk about needing external help.
They do. The analogy is a weak rosebush. It's powerless against the weeds until a gardener steps in to help. We have to seek help when we're powerless. And the most fundamental help is aligning with the greatest creator. That is the reliable assistance.
And this all links back to what you said earlier. We had to heed the silent thunder.
Yes. Big collapses, a landslide, a plane crash. They happen in an instant. But they're always caused by small, gradual changes. An axle slowly wearing down, water pressure building up over years. We have to pay attention to that silent thunder because the axle fracture in our own non-material structure, it's happening gradually, invisibly, with every choice we make.
Which brings us to our final distinction for today. The difference between knowledge and wisdom. That's the key to hearing that thunder.
It is. Knowledge is what you get without personal contemplation. From books, school, your parents. It's data input.
But it's not yours yet.
Not really. Wisdom is what you gain through personal contemplation, through analysis, judgment. It's the crystallization of your own thinking. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but until you apply it and analyze the outcome, it isn't wisdom.
So what does this all mean for the timeline of our lives? The sources completely reject this idea of a distant judgment day.
And this is probably the most provocative thought to leave you with. The greatest creator's judgment, the Tao's reward and punishment mechanism, it isn't some future event. It happens immediately. Always. It happens in your next action. When you're tempted to lie, the Tao is right there. If you resist, a gem is added to your life structure. If you give in, a knife is taken to it. Your eternal destiny is literally being built by the accumulation of your choices in the now.
So the highest aim is just to follow Tao and evolve that structure.
Exactly. Which leaves you with the ultimate question that ties this all together. When the greatest creator speaks to you through the sun, the wind, and that silent thunder, are you just listening with your ears, your senses, or with your fully awakened consciousness and wisdom?